Just got in there. We in that yank. We in that yank. And then the voice say.
Temperatures for early July with a mix of sun and clouds. I do think that eventually the afternoon leads to some scattered showers and storms. Not everyone sees rain, and it doesn't rain all day, but we could see some localized heavy downpours, lots of lightning and gusty wind. Similar forecast as we have.
What's up, fam? How y'all doing? We jumping on. We're a little late to the scene. Oh. Hey.
I knew he's gonna wake up.
Hey. Hey.
What's up, fam? How y'all doing?
Oh, let's do it. What up, fam? How y'all doing? It's a fantastic Friday. I hope y'all having a good day. I hope y'all excited about all that God has coming your way. Hope that you are also getting ready to cook, because y'all don't like to cook on Friday. Matter of fact, I hope that your week was so great that you were taking yourself out to eat today. Treat yourself today. This is Friday. Treat yourself day. Hey, man. I hope. There you go. See, there it is. Okay, I see them now. How you doing, Jamise? What up, fam? We're doing pretty good.
What's good, everybody?
Happy Friday to you. Hey, mama. My mama over here. Hey, mommy. I need to go share this. Trey had to go put on his suit, everybody.
Montgomery's Inspiration Station, Phrase 96.5 FM. WMGY.
Yeah.
It's 3:43 here in the capital city. You're hanging with yours through the Crown Prince, Pastor Trey.
Hey, Pastor Lee.
You already know it's time for Straight Church.
No chaser.
And this is our opportunity to keep things real, relevant,
and
righteous. And as they say, is better late than never.
Well, yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
We'll deal with it. The Lord knows what he's doing.
But anyway, we're here.
We here.
We made it. It's Friday.
We bout it.
Woo, 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 woo.
We ride it.
So, man, we're going to have to speed through this first segment real quickly to try to get back on track. So
we got it.
So, how was your week, man? Before we dive into it, how has your week been thus far?
It was a dope week, man. I had the privilege to be alive.
Absolutely.
Ain't God a good God?
Amazing.
We serve a best God. How was your week, man?
Week was good, bro. Can't complain, man. Wrapping up my first class in the master's program, and started the second class. Okay. Been writing papers. And I can't complain, man. Just enjoying life.
Yeah, y'all see him on Facebook. Trey we were delayed because Trey had to put on his good suit.
Hey, man, don't do that.
He wanted to be fresh today.
Don't do that. I was graced with an opportunity.
My boy shining and shimmering. That's what's going on.
Don't let him do that. Man, how was the concert this past Saturday?
It sure was Saturday. It kind of messed my weeks up. It was amazing.
Good.
Dr. Joe Pace was a blessing, man. And it was exciting. Got the opportunity to lead a song, and then he blew our mind and was like, hey, when we record this, I'm calling you. I don't care where you are. You're coming to me, and you're going to lead the song on the track. I said, famous? Who, me? So just a blessing to get an opportunity.
Little old me.
Yeah, and just grateful, man. God continues to give us favor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, listen, I do want to take this time to shout out our sponsors.
Shout them out.
Up first, we have the Wellness Coalition, working together to improve health and access for all. It's the Wellness Coalition.
Amen.
Also, we got to shout out our A1s since day one, the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation, founded by our big sis, Taranisha Marlowe, and Mama Sonia Mills McCall. The focus of the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation is mental health awareness with a concentration on suicide prevention. The foundation is a tribute to the life and memory of Brother Colin Connor. To learn more about his story and the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation, make sure you head over to their website, which is lovingteddybear.com. And if you would like to make a donation to this amazing and awesome foundation, you may do so via their website or on Cash App. Their cash tag is Loving TB Foundation. That's Loving TB
Foundation.
There it is, class. He's getting it.
Amen.
He's
Praise
getting
the
it.
Lord.
But listen, speaking of the Wellness Coalition, though, we do want to inform you all, hey, they are offering HeartLink classes. You can control your chronic conditions with free HeartLink classes. HeartLink is a free program where you can learn ways to manage and prevent chronic health issues such as heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, and more. You'll also learn about healthy eating, safe physical activities, proper medication usage, and dealing with difficult emotions. Call the Wellness Coalition and ask about HeartLink today. The number to dial is 293-6502. That's 293-6502.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Family, we see y'all checking in on Facebook. We're excited to have you here. Shout out once again to our big sister, Miss Gray. My mother, Annette Gales here. Erica LaShawn Thompson, how you doing? We see you in the chats. Deacon Durham, how you doing? Willie Durham, Brother Tori Tillman, Sister Mariah Lawson, good evening to you all. We have a special guest today, and I think he has a lot to say. It's going to be a good conversation today. I think the reality is this is the 7th month of the year. I think they call this month July.
Yeah, man.
And this is the month that many of us have had ultimately 7 months to work towards our goals, work towards the things that we feel that will fulfill us and make us feel accomplished and achieve in the year of 2023, the year of our Lord 2023. And I think the big thing is that many of us wear smiles, but we're literally walking around feeling down. Because out of all the things we're doing, because we desire to do them, we're passionate about it, or even we're obligated to it, the reality is some of us aren't feeling a sense of fulfillment.
Wow.
And sometimes, to be quite frank, it's not a whole seasonal feeling. Sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's a day or a moment in the day where you feel as though you're vain or you have not accomplished anything. And so we have someone here with us today, no stranger to the city of Montgomery, my brother from another beautiful mother. See, I was going to wait because normally I would tell people to put some hearts on the screen before I bring them on. But y'all throw some hearts on the screen if you're on Facebook. If you're in Radio Land, hey, you know this voice. Matter of fact, I'm going to let him talk before I tell you who he is. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, family?
Y'all make some noise for Pastor Courtney. Oh, okay. I'm going to get all your business. Meadows!
I finally made it to straight church, no chase.
Oh, no, we finna have some fun, man. How you been, bro?
It's gonna be good.
I've been good. I'm glad to be on with y'all.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not gonna hold it against you, the sequence, but we good.
Well, we had to catch you while you were in town because the truth is, you're so global now. You know, we might not have been able to pay the cost to sit and talk to you.
Man, this is my home, and y'all my homies. So what you mean? Just tell me you finally got around to it.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
Don't do that.
And so we're happy you're here. You're here often to handle business and be a blessing concerning ministry in the city of Montgomery. But you're here for a purpose even this weekend, or this week rather. You're in revival. Talk to us about it.
Lake Elam Missionary Baptist Church, Millbrook, Alabama. It's been an amazing revival. We're talking about coming back strong.
Wow.
And tonight is the last night. And I believe it's going to be a blessing. Press your way. Join us virtually. Shout out to Pastor Gary Jackson. This has been an exciting time. We talked about the family coming back. We talked about the next generation coming back. And now I'm going to talk about how you can make a personal comeback. It's never too late to make a comeback.
I love it.
Yeah, that's gonna be dope.
Oh, Doc, he preached last night. I got to go down there. It's been a long time since I've sat down and just been in a revival.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's been a lot. Because normally, I mean, you know, to be quite honest, if you're on the road or doing itinerary ministry on a regular, you know, it's a joy to not be in church.
Correct.
You know, so
If I ain't gotta be there, I ain't going.
So the ability to just be in the revival,
Right.
I was just having me a good Holy Ghost sit down and push the preacher.
It was a good push.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you. Hey, you know, when the preachers come to the front, you close, and you got no choice but to close.
They'll make you hurt yourself if you ain't careful.
Yeah.
They'll make you.
Preach,
They'll
man.
make you squall, even if you're not a squaller.
Right.
They'll make you reach way down.
Whatever.
Yeah, man. So it's definitely a blessing to have you here, Pastor Mellows. We do know that you are the generational pastor at Grace Baptist Church in Georgia, where Pastor
Clinton
McFarland is your pastor.
Yeah, man.
And so it's an amazing thing because you're a Montgomery born and bred preacher. I want to say child, but you just a preacher. Now you started at the age of 6.
People's Baptist Church.
And I used to hear about the milk crate.
Yeah, man.
And
But it was a blue treasure chest.
like the ones we took to college when we went out.
Blue treasure chest. Stand on top of it, I could not see over it. I think they've gotten rid of it now, but that's how it started.
I'm sure they did.
Man.
Yeah.
So I think if there's anybody we can talk to about navigating the different spaces of life, when God potentially changes the trajectory, and even how God speaks to you, you know, in terms of how does God redirect you 6 years young, preaching the gospel and moving and navigating not only through the world but church culture, which is two different things, but they can really be contradicting, right? Make life a little difficult. So kind of speak to us about that.
Well, Montgomery is home. Always has my heart. I'm still even coming through town all too often, about once or twice a week. Me and my wife, we're still connected to the community. But this is the place where I got my foundation, my start. I learned church culture. And the beautiful thing about church culture is that it morphs into other opportunities. And so I got introduced to community engagement, the civil rights movement, youth development, working with nonprofit leadership.
Wow.
And so Montgomery is the foundation. Montgomery is that base. It is that home where you get your start. And then I think all of us reach that moment where you need a personal stretch, whatever that looks like. I used to hear people all the time around here saying, "Oh, there ain't no opportunity. I'm gonna go to Atlanta." And I used to always emphatically state, God can do whatever He needs to do in your life from where you are.
Yeah, man.
And it just so happened that I ended up getting the call to come to Atlanta, but not because God could not do what He needed to do from Montgomery, because God has done exceptional things.
Yeah, man.
From being right here in Montgomery. I went to Africa from Montgomery. I preached in National Baptist Convention from Montgomery, actually starting in Whitehall. And so I think everyone will reach that point to where you have to look at where you are and understand when it's time to shift. And go to what is next.
I think that's good.
That's dope.
Because you just said something that is so pertinent in the reality that if you grow where you are, then that makes you eligible to be transplanted in the first place, right? Like, because I think sometimes we don't think of being great, doing our best until we get to where we want to be.
Correct.
But you were doing what you were doing here with no thought of what was there.
That's right.
And God came and just kind of shifted the trajectory for you.
Correct. Faithfulness is vital where you are. And I'm not just talking about church now. I'm saying whatever that job you're working, even if it's school, you have to embrace where you are now.
Absolutely.
What becomes problematic for our generation is that we're so laser focused on where we're going, we miss what we gather in the journey. And so what I am encountering now, even in Georgia, I can look back to things that I experienced in Whitehall, in Montgomery, in various other arenas. God is intentional in every step that we take. And so for that person that's in that weird space, you know that there is more for you, whatever that looks like, whether that's in Montgomery or beyond Montgomery. The key thing is to be faithful where you are and not allow getting to where you think you're going to make you become unfaithful in the assignment of now.
So how do you help someone to remain patient in their now?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are laser focused and forward focused on where they're trying to get to, that they try to get ahead of God. So how would you encourage someone to remain patient in their process, in their now?
I think understanding, number one, why are you rushing? You got to ask yourself that question. What am I in a rush for?
Yeah.
And at the heart of our personal lack of fulfillment, what snatches our gratitude, what makes us mishandle our now is this competition with somebody else's.
My God, today.
You know, and so we live our lives in this social media age in competition.
Yeah.
You guys are phenomenal brothers. We are brothers.
Absolutely.
There's no reason for us to be in competition. You know, that's a whole nother conversation of the culture of people being on the grind and people highly motivated and ambitious, and that ambition turns into competition. So you got to ask yourself, why am I rushing? Who am I rushing for? Am I rushing for the next social media post? Am I rushing because I see somebody else there before me?
Wow.
So I have to understand that my life has its own timeline, and I cannot allow what's on my timeline or what someone else is posting on theirs rush mine. I've got to embrace where I am in time and know that in the fullness of time, in due time, what's for me is going to come to pass. And so I think that's the challenge. We rush ourselves because of competition.
And I love that. So somebody, I could just hear them saying, yeah, but Reverend Meadows, Pastor Meadows, I'm actually better than them. And they're still beyond me. How do you wrestle with, and not just that nuance of who's better than, it's, you know, that classism type concept of thinking, but how do you wrestle with knowing that it's your time, but still having to go back to the pasture?
Well, you know, I've came across a scripture in Ecclesiastes 9 and 11. We misquote this scripture all the time. Race is not given to the swift.
That ain't it. That ain't it. But he that endure.
But to the one that endured unto the end. You're quoting a song.
Right.
But the actual scripture, and it blessed my life one day when I was reading it. It says that the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to those with knowledge, but time and chance happen to them all.
Absolutely.
So the
time and chance.
The critical thing at the heart of it is time and chance.
Yes, sir.
So you got it can be your time, but not your turn. You see what I'm saying? So it's time and turn happens to us all. It is not how many degrees that I have. And so we got to get out of that culture of competition and understand, number one, there's enough for all of us to eat.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, when it comes to our churches, there's enough population in Montgomery for all of our churches if we do what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? and so when we understand time and chance and embracing that moment, I think we get so caught up in other people's moments, we miss ours.
Wow. That's heavy.
Don't get so caught up in my time and turn that you miss yours.
That's like when the choir don't come in on time because they listen to the soloist. Ooh, he sounded good.
you better know. You know.
Well, shout out to we see, and you're going well, and I got a question for you that I think you're gonna nail on the head and help somebody.
No, gotta get his legal ID in.
Yeah, we about to get out the way. Shout out to you, brother Ned Gasson. We see you, brother Dennis DeLoach, listening all the way from DC. My brother, shout out, brother Joe Thomas, Pastor Joe Thomas. They saying what's up to all us. Y'all shout out to them.
Man,
Yeah,
appreciate y'all.
Mother Angie is on here.
My mama.
Yeah, that's your mother.
What's up, mother? Hey man, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It can be your time and not your turn. But we're gonna get to this legal ID right now.
Yeah, and then we coming back immediately.
Let's go.
Immediately.
Yeah, because I ain't get to put my suit on.
Y'all keep.
Man.
So I mean, so let's just go ahead and deal with this. Are you gonna be taking shots all day?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
I still ain't done with this whole sugar and grits.
Oh yeah, where's our
Anything?
grits?
You was the one supposed to be setting it up.
No, you did though. I'm gonna call somebody on the break. Go ahead.
Y'all keep it locked. We're coming right back.
We want to thank you for listening to.
Can they hear me on here?
96.5
Yeah.
W24.
Because my mic was muted
MGY Montgomery.
on the computer.
They can hear it.
Family!
Oh, they can hear
Yeah,
me.
right.
This
So
is
do I need to mute this back?
96.5
Yeah, you can hear
FM,
that.
WMGY.
Yeah, family. Good evening to y'all. How you doing, Sister Gwen? How you doing, Sister Peacock? What's up? Hey man, DeMarcus made this jingle. This one right here.
I need an igniting the flame jingle. My bad.
Mama,
Jingle to make
Mama
jingle.
Betty, how you doing? Sister Cap, how you doing? Shout out to y'all fam. Sister Ruby Barton, how you doing?
Oh, I see mother.
Uh-huh.
Mama Betty.
Uh-huh.
She over here. That's my 25% mother. I'll let you know.
How you doing, Sister Spriggs? How you doing? Church, no church. Daisha, what's up, fam? Yeah, I got a question for you.
You start looking diabolical.
Huh?
You start looking diabolical.
No. I mean, because I think we as pastors often don't answer the real hard questions that the pews have.
You gotta answer them.
And so that's why people are
But this is why we have straight church.
absolutely. And so we got to ask the questions. Sister Ella Jenkins.
Montgomery's Inspiration Station, Praise 96.5 FM, WMGY. We're back with more of Straight Church.
No chaser.
With yours truly, Pastor Trey.
Pastor Lee B.
You already know we're going to keep things real,
Uh-huh.
relevant,
Uh-huh.
and
Righteous.
before we dive back into our conversation, we have to take this time to shout out our sponsors once again.
Shout out.
Gotta send love to the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation, founded by our big sis Tara and Mama Sonia Mills McCall. The focus of the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation is mental health awareness with a concentration on suicide prevention. This foundation is a tribute to the life and memory of Brother Colin Connor. To learn more about his story and the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation, head over to their website, which is lovingteddybear.com. And we encourage you, please, ma'am and sir, find it in the generosity of your heart to make a donation to this awesome and amazing foundation. To do so, you may do it via their website or their cash app. Their cash tag is $ Loving TB Foundation. Once again, it's $ Loving TB Foundation. And then also we have to take this time to shout out the Wellness Coalition, working together to improve health and access for all. It's the Wellness Coalition. And we want to remind you all again that they are offering HeartLink classes. Listen, you can control your chronic conditions with free HeartLink classes. HeartLink is a free program where you can learn ways to manage and prevent chronic health issues such as heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, and more. Listen, you'll also learn about healthy eating, safe physical activities, proper medication usage, and dealing with difficult emotions. Call the Wellness Coalition today and ask about HeartLink. The number to dial is 293-6502. That's 293-6502. Once again, major shouts out to the Wellness Coalition and the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation.
Hug yourself and love yourself.
All right, we're back with, he's no longer a special guest. He made it through the first segment. He's our brother from another beautiful mother. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome back to the mic, the one and only. Tell him who it is.
Pastor Courtney Dwayne Meadows. Him is here.
Call the man old government.
Well, I want them to know what the D stood for.
He called.
I want them to know what the D stood for.
Don't start that. Don't get that started.
I'm still trying to figure out. You know what the E stands for?
Don't worry about all that. Don't worry about it. What?
Earl,
No. The heck no. No.
Edward,
Evergreen.
No, what the people,
Eldred.
no, what the people really want to know is what does the B stand for?
Where's the B at?
Lee B.
Lee B.
Oh.
Walker. The B. Don't do that. So tell us what is
It stands for Bizzle.
No.
Lee Bizzle.
Tell us what does the B stand for?
Lee Brisket.
We had to get out the radio.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Big boy.
I'll take it.
Don't do that.
No, man. So we're talking about what next, man. You know, because people in that space of trying to discover what their next move is, what should they do next, or just simply like, man, why am I?
Somebody said Barnes.
My mama.
Your mom said Barnes.
Your mama confirmed. Lee Barnes.
Lee Barnes Walker Jr.
My mama trying to get blocked.
No block.
I'm gonna block you on YouTube.
Barnes and Nobles.
All right.
Lee
See
Barnes.
that?
Why? Good shit. Yeah.
You better be glad we ain't got no
See,
people.
That's right, mama. That's right.
This thing
Nothing
say,
wrong.
This thing say I can put her in timeout.
No. Don't do that.
Put her back in.
Don't do that. Oh Lord, I done got hot. Barnes. That's it. So everybody who wanted to know what does the B
Lord have mercy.
stand
Barnes.
for in Lee B. Walker Jr.
I
It's
cannot-
Barnes. It's
I
Barnes.
cannot believe you.
It's good though. It's
But
all right.
look though, check this, family. As we get back to where we're from, right?
Dennis just cracking up.
Yeah, Dennis, I'm gonna turn your Wi-Fi off.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Go ahead.
But I had a question because I think there's some people that are in the proverbial straight church, no chaser, Baptist church, Kojic church,
Yeah.
Full Gospel church. They're in the pews and they're asking this question. Pastor Meadows, how do I discern the difference between a divine shifting and a demonic sifting?
Wow. I think that both of them can happen simultaneously because with every shift, there's a sift.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's so very important is that we demystify how God speaks, how God confirms. Many people think, oh, he gonna roll out the curtain of heaven.
Sound like James Earl Jones.
Really. And so we look for something so supernatural, right? Sometimes it can just be that feeling, that unsettling feeling. You no longer have peace. You have this lack of fulfillment. You're working a job. You're doing that, 9 to 5, but you don't feel fulfilled. That peace has lifted.
Wow.
But sometimes God can let conflict take place to disrupt the norm in a particular space. So conflict becomes that conduit. You have a decision. Am I going to take it personal? Am I going to make it about them? Or can I see him despite them?
Wow.
And so I think there are ways that God speaks in very practical ways. But I think because it's not always, it's not always this mysterious or supernatural move that we don't recognize God.
Wow.
And I think that's important for us to understand that God allows things to happen.
Yeah.
that then becomes that confirmation to get us out of our comfort zone, to stretch us.
Yeah, that's good.
You know?
And I think the way God speaks to you has a lot to do with how you listen.
Right.
You know, even when you spoke about like the conflict or the tension,
Mhm.
that's how God speaks to me in many moments because I'm a loyalist,
Correct.
sometimes to a fault, right?
Right.
And so you'll be tied to something and you'll adjust to even the red flags to the degree that God legitimately has to make you move
He has to literally make you.
because you would have stayed otherwise.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So
people
conflict-
don't understand that.
Conflict can be beneficial.
Conflict always leads to growth.
Mm.
The challenge of conflict is that we get stuck, particularly in pews. We get stuck on this whole blame game. For me, I had to shift not only my focus, but to try to help to shift the focus of those around me. Because we got folk that'll fight for us.
That's true.
I mean, not just in church,
Yeah.
but our families and people that are around us in our transition.
Absolutely.
And we have to aid those who are around us in understanding, hey, yes, this happened that may have been unfortunate or that we may not agree with, but God worked it for a greater good.
Yeah.
That was that Joseph effect. Wait, what you meant, for evil, God has meant it for good. Not just my good, but for a greater good. And so conflict arises to force growth in the conflicted, those that are involved. There's growth for everyone to be embraced. I look at both of the churches, that God allowed me to lead, and I've seen myself grow through my connection, and I've seen them grow on the heels of my departure.
Gotcha.
And I don't feel any type of way about it because I want all of us to win.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God is designed for all of us to win. And I think when we can mature in our perspective on conflict, that if the end goal is not growth, we're going to get stuck in that moment of conflict and we will spend the rest of our lives blaming. Conflict is designed to be a conduit for growth.
I like
That's good, man.
I like
That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, we got to get these commercial breaks in, and we'll pick it back up on the other side. Listen, don't y'all go anywhere. There's more Straight Church.
No chaser.
Coming up after the breaks.
We're going to make you sing today, too.
And won't.
Uh-oh. We're going to see what the Lord going to do.
This is going to be very interesting. This is going to be interesting to see.
Hey, I can't believe my mama just told everybody my middle name. Conflict is supposed to be a conduit for our growth. Yeah. So if that be the case, that means we must embrace the conflict that comes.
You gotta embrace it.
Because I think that's where majority of us run. And it's probably because conflict always pulls us out of our comfort
What's
zone.
up, family? This is Dr. Eagle Smith in Atlanta, Georgia. Check out Straight Church.
Yeah. What?
Hello, family. This is Bishop Edo Smith.
That's the bishop, Doc. That's the bishop.
Yeah, people get stuck in it, and they run from it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all guilty of running.
Absolutely.
We're all guilty of running.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I kind of talked about that Sunday, but our the biggest revealer of our relationships is in the uncomfortable conversations. And I think that's and it just conflict carries such a negative connotation. We don't see the positive gain in those moments. So we always just kind of but all in all, as we've discussed plenty of times, the act of iron sharpening iron is conflict.
It's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, it's a budding of two things, right? Embrace this conflict of the world, knowing that what the B means to Dennis, you tripping. You tripping, bro. Let Mama Annette be great. I ain't tripping on my mama. I love my mama.
She gave us a revelation today.
Bishop Jonathan Givens, how you doing, sir? We thank God for you being in close proximity to the show.
Man.
What a mighty man of God you are in the city of the Montgomery. I'll say worldwide because that joke was he was on a plane spree. I'm telling you, I need some of his guy
He
miles.
make me want to come Church of Christ.
All those stuff.
I ain't got to pay no musician.
Look, right? Give it to have that conversation. Look, ain't no organs in that acting. Ain't gotta worry about nobody coming late, huh? Man, nah, man. Now this is a good conversation, and I think he said, "Come on over."
I'm good, Doc.
Come on over,
right
right, glory. But I think it's intriguing because the conversation concerning shifting, especially for you, in many cases, not just as of late, your shifts were often criticized and major because you were so young. And it's like no one cares when you're of a certain age, but when you're younger and doing it, everyone believes they can declare if you're ready for or not ready for.
And I think also people battle with their perceptions of your journey. So when you are the boy wonder or the son of the city, then the expectation is a certain path within the city.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So the world's bigger than Montgomery.
Well, the world is bigger than Montgomery, but I think my world is bigger than your expectation of it.
I like it.
I should not be limited to what you thought I would be or do. And so I think the conflict is over when you move beyond the confines of what I expected your path to be. It's more than just an external conflict. I'm now battling with a conflict in my heart and in my mind.
I gotta press pause right there because Dr. Freeman Ray made it on Facebook today.
Who am I?
We gotta shout you out, Bishop.
Dr. Ray.
Pastor Ray is on Facebook.
The third.
He got to bounce though. Bless you, Doc. Bless. Shout out to you as well, Pastor Joshua Banks Jr. So that's a big conversation we have all the time as well. It's not just in the pastoral element, but every element of life. People have these unspoken expectations on people that place them in a box. And whenever they move contrary to the box they place them in, people are outraged. And they don't even understand sometimes the effect it has on the person who's simply being obedient.
It's detriment, and it is so important, for parents and grandparents, for friends, for colleagues. Sometimes the best that you can do is to just remain there for a person, even when you don't understand, or give them space with supportive energy. Because sometimes I know from my transition, my family has really been a bedrock in just my sanity,
Right.
and even more success. Because when others were, saying this, that, and the other, they helped to insulate me. Because stepping out on faith, as much as we make it to be so easy from our preaching presentation, it's hard day to day. There are days that I miss Montgomery. I mean, I'm talking. There are days where I wonder, dang, I don't hear from these people no more.
Right.
Days where I miss being a senior pastor. Days where I miss the people that I pastored.
Mhm.
Days where I wonder what would happen if I had stayed a little longer.
Right.
So these are things that go through your mind, and this is again across professions.
Mhm.
And so it is so very important that we have sensitivity
Mhm.
to people being in sensitive spaces.
Right.
And it's best to say nothing
Mhm.
than to say something
Yeah.
that could worsen a person.
The ministry of presence.
The ministry of presence.
It matters.
Oh man, I'm
It
telling you,
matters.
it makes a difference.
Yeah, because I think it's always going to be a weightier weight on us as leaders who have to make movements in faith. It's already difficult.
Yeah.
It gets even worse when you have people counting on you.
I mean, I can only imagine the conversation that Abraham's father's house had as he was preparing to leave. What was the city saying about him?
Yeah.
What was his own father?
Somebody was calling him a prodigal.
Oh, somebody was saying a whole lot of stuff, you know. Sarah, can you convince him to stay?
And it was probably some of the same conversation that Joseph's brothers had about him.
Yes.
To the point that they wanted to sell him, honestly kill him, then sell him.
And you gotta be okay to that person that's in that weird space of trying to discern purpose and what's next. You gotta be okay with not having the answer, and you gotta be okay not giving an answer.
Right.
You gotta be okay not being able to explain everything. You really gotta be okay. As preachers, we are trained to have an answer for all things.
Absolutely.
But there have been moments where, okay, I don't fully understand. Well, what's next for you? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's hard enough when we don't know.
I mean, even now, it's like, what's next for you? I don't know. Right. What I'm doing is I'm embracing now. Yeah. I'm embracing the now, and always keeping my ear to the mouth of God and eyes open to how he will deliver and make this thing.
So out of all the moments where you had to step out on faith, even in school in Montevallo, had to come home to pastor a church at a young age, even everything that's happened in your preaching journey, when you look back at it now, I'm sure you can say to yourself, I would not have grown if I didn't step out.
Oh man.
And so it's we're a danger to ourselves if we stay in our comfort zone when God's telling us to move.
It is because again, he is tracking this thing out. And the beauty of God is that even when we step too soon or too late, his faithfulness works in it. Absolutely. And we know all things work together. Or another way I always say of saying that is that God works in all things. And so I would contend that even the things that were not God's perfect will for our lives, he works in it to accomplish his perfect plan.
Absolutely.
And we have to be okay. I think sometimes even as young professionals, not just in the church spirits, like this fear, well, what if I make this bad decision? What if it doesn't go well? Hey, my deal now, it could go anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm so confident in God that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And so we have to be okay step by step, knowing that God is working in it and that his will is at work in it.
That's
even
good.
when we don't always understand.
That's good. And I see a comment. Mother McCall says the conflict is because Christians are selfish. That some want promotions on their job, but not for the man of God. And I think that's across the board. Like people have no issue, in their pursuits to better or following where God wants them to be. But they have a very, very They have a very big issue with anybody they depend on shifting. And I think that's when we really get to talking about that whole, you're okay as long as I stay where I've been.
Yes. Or as long as I stay with you.
Yeah, and that's that possessive love I've heard you talk about.
Love can become possessive.
Mhm.
If you got to be very careful when people say they love you,
Mhm.
because I now want to discern what type of love. So when it comes to our ministries and the places where we're making meaningful contributions, you are an asset to that institution, so long as you keep the assets coming in.
Absolutely.
And those who love you genuinely will love you wherever you go.
Right.
Because you are the asset.
Right.
But there are those who are invested in their institution.
That's heavy.
And so long as, and that's why you cannot wear your heart on your sleeve in this work or any work of purpose.
Wow.
Because there are some that you have to watch them. You are the best thing in the world as long as you're their pastor, as long as you're that they want you to be. And you watch them immediately shift when you're no longer that.
Yeah.
And so the resolve is people will move on. That's what it teaches the heart. You know what? People will move on to what is next.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I've got to know that who's for me is for me, and quit focusing on who's not.
On what left or who left.
Embrace what is feeding you.
Absolutely.
And who's for you.
Yeah, man.
That's solid. It's coming off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that possessive love is a monster.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think there's a whole nother space. And I don't know where it's rooted in, but you know how we always have brothers and co-laborers who are spewing this conversation of better coming and you leaving anyway.
How you know what I was going to do? And those 9 times out of 10, if you can predict that I was going somewhere, you've envisioned yourself where I am.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Just waiting on the opportunity for you to leave.
I mean, or it's that you are hoping that I leave.
Yeah.
Because if you manufactured that thought already, but it's a credit to my possibility.
Absolutely.
Because obviously you see that there's a future for me.
That's greater for you.
That's greater than where I am. I wish you would see that same possibility in yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of becoming the predictor of what I will do.
Yeah.
It's
interesting the space we're in. I mean, and I don't know. I think you probably could better speak to it because you were in our arena before social media. But the level of competition now.
Montgomery's Inspiration Station, Praise 96.5 FM, WMGY.
Yeah.
It's 4:30 straight up and down here at the capital city. You're hanging with yours truly, the Crown Prince, Pastor Trey.
And Pastor Lee Bizzle.
This is Straight Church.
No chaser.
And before we dive back into our conversation again, we want to take this time to shout out our sponsors. We have to shout out number one, the Wellness Coalition.
Shout out.
Working together to improve health and access for all.
Amen.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Also, we got to shout out the Loving Teddy Bear Foundation. Listen, we do want to encourage you, please, ma'am and sir, find the generosity within your heart to give and be a blessing to the Living Teddy Bear Foundation. You may do so via their Cash App.
Hug yourself.
Their cash tag is $ Loving TB Foundation. Again, $ Loving TB Foundation. So let's dive back into the conversation with our brother from
Show me what you're working
beautiful mother. You gonna bring him back?
Hug yourself. Love yourself.
Lee.
Hug yourself. Show me what
This
you
jingle got
hug
him
yourself.
I don't know what it is.
jiggling.
I don't know what it
Hug
is.
yourself. Show me what you're working with. Nah, fam. So we've been having some good conversation. Off the air and on the air.
Oh, man.
I need y'all to grab your phones, get to Facebook so you can get some of this off the air conversation too, because it's getting real good in the studio. And so we're talking about church. This is straight church, no chaser.
Yeah, man.
We don't play no games with it. I think it's good conversation because, and I see you. Shout out to our Facebook family. We see y'all on here. Gabriel Rhodes said that competitive love. We talked about that possessive love and that competitive love, and just the nature of how all too often we get in the way of other people's shift. And it was divine. Like it was divinely orchestrated that they shift, no matter the nature, no matter the title, no matter the position. And we get in the way of it. And it's not always just people who are depending on you at that place. Sometimes they can even be folk with the same name as you.
Oh, man.
And they can literally love you to death versus love you to life.
Correct.
And they want you to stay in a sure place because of whatever you might have provided for them. And I think that's just interesting as we continue to talk about shifts and discerning these shifts and how God speaks to us. And I heard you so elegantly tell us to stop looking for James Earl Jones' voice to come from the sky.
Oh, yeah.
And tell you, here, you make a right step 2 inches to the left, you know. But just see and be able to pray and be open and keen to hear the voice of God, however he may speak to you, because he speaks to all of us differently.
Correct.
And so as all of us are progressing, I believe holistically, stretch, ascend. What's the word at Grace for the year? Do you have a word for the year?
Possibilities.
See what I'm saying?
Man.
So possibilities, you got stretch, you got ascension, or ascend rather. I believe holistically that there are some people who God is stretching so that they can ascend and take hold of those possibilities.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, we have to, or rather we do ourselves a good service to not be a hindrance to someone else's shift.
I think the synergy in these messages is that we are in a culture and time where the expectations have been elevated.
Mm-hmm.
People believe that there's more in God than just these traditional paths of what we've always seen out of church folk, or just even culturally.
Absolutely.
You know, and so there's this, especially within our generation, hey, there's gotta be more.
Yeah.
There's gotta be more. And somebody's feeling that there's more, and that expectation is rising. And so we've got to make sure that we do our part in preparing people to make sure that they are prepared to embrace more.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I like this, man. And so
that comment though. I was thinking about that comment.
I was with you, and then I saw Elder Mitchell.
You know what I'm saying? You can't. I was like,
he talking about these grits.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what you talking about now. But
back on topic.
Yeah.
Back on topic.
And let me tell you one of the other hindrances. Is that many people haven't moved because they think God is supposed to order every move.
Okay, you got to unpack that.
Let's look now.
They want to be sure.
When the ruler gives to the servants 5, 2, 1, he does not attach specific instructions on what they are to do in the stewardship of that.
Right.
So there's some moves that I make that God's only indication is what he put in me.
Man.
So if I know that he's put this talent and ability in me,
absolutely,
I would be a poor steward to not seize opportunities to explore the possibility of what he's placed in me.
Yeah.
So that means that God does not have to tell me everything to do.
Absolutely.
Because he's already invested in
absolutely.
me. So my awareness of God's investment becomes all of the answer that I need from God.
Yeah.
Because he would not invest in me something he didn't want me to explore.
Man.
Absolutely. Wow.
And that's good because God is looking for a return on his
He's
investment.
looking for a return.
And I
You're
think a
gonna
lot of
give
people, don't understand that God invests gifts, talents, anointings into us because he's expecting a
Mhm.
return. He's expecting us to produce something.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And he ain't gonna tell you get on Indeed. He's not. He's not gonna tell you to clean up your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He don't do that.
That's you.
That's you.
That's your participation.
What are you gonna do with God's investment?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. He gives us an outline. We write the paper.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I like that, Bree. I mean, TD
Very
Jakes. I
good.
think TD Jakes said, "God does not deal in tables and chairs.
Mhm.
He gave you the wood,
Wow.
so it's your job." I said, "Gosh,
He
God,
provided the resources.
He gave it to you." So with that being said, and I think we talked about it a little bit offline, I know that this is a show that reaches multiple generations, but I really wanted to speak to the intergenerational concept here. You are a pastor, a generational pastor at Grace, and I know you can understand the necessity for us that not only are we and/or ourselves sometimes hindrances to our own shift, but sometimes generationally it doesn't look the same.
That's correct.
And oftentimes, it's easy for us to be married to that traditional way and process when we're older.
Right.
And when we're younger, we're more open to whatever God's doing. And sometimes those of, older age can hinder those of a younger age. How can we aid each other to stay where God wants us to be?
The concept behind this emerging title of generational pastor, the intent is understanding that all of our churches are multi-generational.
Mm-hmm.
We are not, however, intergenerational. So
Mhm.
while generations are present, they aren't always collaborative. They're not always understanding. In many cases, they are cliquish and they are in collisions with each other. Right?
Conflict.
They're in conflict, right? And so there are generational norms that must be understood, because when you can look at those generational norms, it would explain why certain people in certain generations act the way that they act. They don't just act that way in church.
Gotcha.
They act that way in life.
Got you.
That's the space and season of life. Some generations are more settled, some generations are more exploratory.
Mhm.
And so it is so important, whether your church hires a generational pastor or not, whether your company hires a chief generational officer or not, it is so important for us to foster collaboration amongst generations. So that's really my first and foremost assignment at Grace, to help to lead the way in creating that generational understanding
Got you.
and intergenerational activity, while each generation is strengthened through their own personal fellowship and discipleship.
Man, that's major.
I love
That's
it.
major. That's major.
So how do you think we can aid each other in this space of transition and shifting?
I think coming to that place of just understanding,
Mhm.
The way that some people do with scripture is that they come with those presuppositions, this preconceived idea of what God is saying. And that's how we do in our everyday interactions. We come with our preconceived notions of, oh, I look at you and I see this for you.
Mhm.
When people see you, they see what they see for you.
Mhm.
And so the idea of understanding is that I come with an open mind to understand you and to be supportive. I don't even have to understand you.
Right.
I can just be supportive of your journey of understanding,
Right.
because you probably don't even understand yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we can become more supportive as a community.
Yeah.
I thought about that powerful scene in The Little Mermaid. At the
Mm.
conclusion, the father didn't understand the path that his daughter was trying to explore, and we really have to really create a safe zone for our children to explore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beyond the box. But at the end, there was this real supportive scene where the communities surrounded that couple, and the father pushes them out into the sea. And so I think we have to become more supportive as a community.
Man, that pushes everything.
Oh
though.
man, that pushes everything.
That pushes everything.
My family has given me that push that's been so vital in my entire life.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Man, this has been good.
Yeah, we got these last set of commercials to run through,
Let's run.
and then we'll be able to wrap it up on the other side of the break. Y'all keep it locked. Don't go anywhere. This is Straight Church.
No chaser.
With yours truly, Pastor Trey.
And Pastor Courtney Meadows still has to sing.
And won't.
Say it again. I don't think they heard you.
And won't. Come to church tonight.
Uh-oh. Y'all keep it locked.
Family, Elder Mitchell is preaching in the chat.
Oh, man. I realize it.
Don't be the one to bury the gift. Yeah, don't bury it. Build with it. Invest in return. That's good. By realizing God is living and not dead, we got to understand He made us with skin that sheds, right? In Peter 1 Peter 5, Peter isn't talking about preachers. He's talking about older people and warning that the conflict from the elders and the young folk is hindering them from keeping focus on the mutual adversary. Absolutely.
That's powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest conundrums. And if we don't get that right in this season, Doc, we're going to have, we're not going to have, because it's already started to some extent, but we're going to continue to see a mass exodus from the body of believers we call the local church.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing, like lack of understanding. And it's so bad now because society is moving even faster. Like, I'm 35 and there's some stuff I don't know what's going on. Like, they just dropped Thread, new social media platform. I jumped on and I'm kind of learning that system now. But it's literally like another Twitter. And that's one space that I can gravitate towards because it's just something that I'm kind of gifted in. But when you start talking like this music and the way they move and the lingo that they have now, I can't keep up with it. It's changing every day.
Yeah, I think we have to intentionally come out of ourselves to learn another world, another generation. I mean, because again, we're getting old.
Yeah.
People, they inviting us, talk to youth. I'm like,
I told her.
We just had that conversation.
They said I was crazy when I said, I'm like, no, I'm 35. I don't know what they. I don't,
it's
look,
a whole nother generation.
My kids are saying cap. I don't. Then as soon as I said it, it was like it's old. We don't even say that no more, Dad. What do you mean? Like, I heard you say it last week. I thought I was cool, Dad. You know.
And you have to practically do just like what you did. You know, because when I saw 30, I was like, okay, cool. Y'all keep talking about it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
But you have to really
absolutely
come out of yourself to try.
Gotta be intentional.
Bree said I'm old. I'm 35. I ain't that old. Don't do that. My mama said I'm old. Yeah,
you're old.
But so it's one of those things we have to find the way, like you said, come out of our comfort zone. I'm gonna have to force myself to watch BET Awards because I don't know what happened.
Right.
And it's almost like in my world of being 35, no one cares. Ain't nobody talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody said nothing about it. I'm going to the golf course. All right. Nobody on the golf course talking about Busta Rhymes. So it's one of those things, definitely. How beneficial do you think? Because there's a reality now, and it's just natural. Once people see a title, they just use whatever functionality and just place the title. For the longest, especially in Missionary Baptist Church, we've always had a youth pastor. Unfortunately, the youth pastor is the youth pastor. Then the next process is he becomes assistant pastor. Next thing is 9 out of 10, he might be the next pastor, which is not always God's process.
Oh, man.
Right. So what is the functionality? Now, I heard you speak about it probably from more of a description standpoint, but what key functions and what key things are you implementing and trying to do to make sure that you get buy-in from all generations?
Yeah, but number one, each group has its own cluster.
Okay.
So they're segmented. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then going up, and they have their intentional monthly connections, and then we set intergenerational activities of fellowship. And so, for the greatest disservice that you can do is to say that because you are a young preacher, I'm going to put you with my youth. I'm not your youth pastor. I've never been a youth pastor. Don't put me as a youth pastor. And while I should be versatile, so as to speak to any generation, because every pastor needs to, in a given sermon, speak to each generation. Speak to people in different spaces that may not be my specialty. And so the aim of the generation, the generational pastor, is to facilitate generational activity, facilitate generational fellowship and intergenerational collaboration. So it may not be that you bring in a pastor. It may just be that from a small group's perspective, you identify the generational groups, or generational fellowships. It can vary. It's also this idea of succession planning in theory. That if that I can begin now to track and identify who could potentially assume leadership.
Gotcha.
And so I think that within our city and beyond, so many churches are at a disadvantage because they are not raising up the next generation to succeed.
I like that. That ensures the continued momentum in the church. And it's interesting. I think one of the other things that we battle with when it comes to shifts, beyond the perception of other people, beyond, I guess, the system that they want us to the process that they want us to grow in and stay in. But we often deal with this feeling of inadequacy while we're in the midst of those places of transition. Because like you spoke, you talked about it, you didn't really stick on it too long, but those moments where you start realizing that folk you thought was for you weren't for you. That hurt sometimes can become trauma.
It can become trauma
of being in a transition and folk who say they didn't want you to go nowhere now bidding you, good day, sir. Go ahead.
And I think that's the reason why I say that the shift and the sift coexist. They have to happen simultaneously, because in every shift there has to be some element of inner toxicity that is shed. Your old self is not going to work in where you're going. And so I think that the beauty of shift is that you discover self. I think what is so unfortunate for many, which would explain why individuals in previous generations hold on to the very last, is because we attach our self-identity to systems and institutions. And institutions teach us how to navigate that system, but they don't teach us how to navigate ourselves.
Wow.
So just because I'm a great preacher doesn't mean I'm a good person. I can know the nuances of how to preach and not know who I am as a person. I don't know what I enjoy as a person. And so we're dealing with people that are in an identity crisis. So this time has been great because it has helped me to connect with myself.
Absolutely.
Who am I? If I was not a preacher, if I am not a preacher, if I, did not take this path, if that was stripped from me, what would be left?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you discover your identity.
And because we tie our all into these institutions, it's hard to let go of them because I'm not only letting go of that institution, I'm letting go of myself.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Your identity.
There's a question on the floor. What happens when you train someone and you can't let them inherit the church through succession? They are not ready or not the right person.
Many times our cultures are not even conducive for succession. I think that in succession, one has to be very discerning, very, very discerning, because you have to be careful. Are you through succession trying to secure your legacy or what's best for that institution? And so while one day I hope that I can have a Courtney Jr., I cannot have the preconceived notion that Courtney Jr. is going to be preacher.
Yeah.
Or even more the notion that he's going to take my church. That may not be what's best for my church.
Yeah.
So I think we walk a fine line of nepotism while being good stewards of the future of our organization. Just because you carry my name doesn't mean that your nature is going to be best for what's next for this institution.
That's just not relative to church, but that's
It's
just,
across
yeah.
businesses. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to be discerning.
Yeah. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this question. But I think this is the shift, and it's interesting because everybody embraced shifts. I think it was maybe 3 years ago, Full Gospel really was pushing that word, and it became like the word shift. Most of us weren't shifting anyway, but it was just the word of the decade, right?
It sounds good.
Shift and dispensation, right? But yeah, it gets good. I'm gonna ask you this one on the air.
And I hate they didn't hear that. I said I hate that the air did not hear that. Man, you know.
Well, they can watch on. They're gonna have
Oh,
to jump
they
on
gonna
Facebook.
watch it.
Yeah.
Montgomery's Inspiration Station, Praise 96.5 FM, WMGY. You still hanging with yours truly, the Crown Prince, Pastor Trey.
And Pastor Lee,
This is Straight Church.
no chaser.
Yeah.
Nah, man, we having a good conversation, man. If you're on the radio, I just want you at some point to hop over to Facebook.
You gotta go.
This is getting good in between the lines.
You gotta go back and watch the replay.
I got a question for you. I mean, we were on this conversation about succession, and you know, there are some topics and some words and some methods that pop up in seasons of the church as a whole that we cling to, and we make it something for us to do because we feel it's necessary. That's the thing of this time when it doesn't even fit our position or the place that we serve.
Our context.
And so I see on Facebook, we were talking about that offline. Sister Bree Rose was saying secession can hurt feelings. And I think, like you said, sometimes it's the reality that we're trying to sustain something for ourselves as we're moving away.
We're building our kingdom.
Absolutely.
And
Versus,
not continuity for God's kingdom.
and that matters.
It matters.
Right. So the progress and the success of that church should live on.
Right.
Beyond the quote unquote legacy of the person who served and did great things.
Because what happens now, if I'm a funeral director, I'm going to expose my child in theory to being a funeral director. Right?
Yeah.
Preacher, I'm going to expose, I was just saying, I would hope one day I can have Junior. I would hope that, he would take after his father. But that does not mean that I impose that upon his life. I don't know what God has for his life or her life.
Yeah.
And so many times we impose things upon our children, which creates this rebellion concept,
right?
Because you don't give me space to embrace that. Now, if it's in God's will for that to happen, oh man, that's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
But the minute I impose that upon you, number one, I do a disservice to you because you never get a chance to maximize what God has for you. You don't even get a chance to discover what God has for you
Yeah.
because you're living within what I discovered before you were even born.
Mhm.
Right.
So you're living my dream, and I don't give you space to discover your own dream.
Wow.
I furthermore do the organization a disservice because who's to say that just because that's my son or my daughter that you are what's best for that organization or
Yeah.
institution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, again, is it furthering your kingdom, or are you sensitive to the spirit to then promote what is in the best for the continuity of God's kingdom? Because if it is about you and your will, then ultimately it will fail, and ultimately you have done malpractice as it relates to that which you are overseeing.
Right.
Man.
And so I think that's a dangerous.
So check this, right? Oftentimes when we talk about shift, we always look for it to be a quote unquote positive or upward shift.
Mm.
How do you manage and or navigate shifts that might seem to be down? Somebody who might have been a number 2, number 3, but now, if we have to use numbers, but for the sake of the analogy, now you're not really in that space anymore.
Correct.
Now you're more of a number 5 or number 6. How do you navigate when God wants you to move to a whole nother sphere of focus versus, that trajectory you might have thought you needed to be on?
I think you have to get over the trajectory of these man-made systems.
Talk about it.
And I think one of the things that I have had to embrace, because there are moments where I miss and have to adjust to not being a senior pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Those are moments where I have to look at myself and get over myself, quite frankly, and understand that what it is indicative of is that we have made success within specifically the Black church context being a senior pastor.
Absolutely.
And as a result, there are people that are senior pastors that would be better generational pastors or assistant pastors or worship pastors, or something that is more in alignment to a specialty than the generalist of being the senior leader.
Yeah.
And so I think we have done our organizations a disservice because, number one, most churches budgetarily are not conditioned to sustain a pastoral team or staff. So the only thing left for me to live and to be, to take care of what I need to take care of is to aspire to be a senior pastor, because that's where the best benefit structure is. And again, even in our culture and church context, we only see value in the person once they're senior pastor.
Wow.
And so because of these traditions and because of these improper norms, we don't give people an opportunity to become a specialist in certain fields within the church that could really move God's kingdom forward. And it creates inordinate amount of pressure upon the office of the senior pastor, because he or she does not even have the ability and flexibility to have a supported team. Don't put volunteers around me and have full-time expectations of these individuals.
That's serious.
You got to put expense around expectations.
Wow.
That's Facebook.
You've got to put expense around expectations.
Yeah, man.
And let's since you went there, and I know it's 4:59. Since you went there,
I think we got grace to go over the day.
Y'all cut my time.
Well, praise the Lord.
No, we ain't gonna.
Y'all
We ain't
cut my time.
We ain't gonna cut you like that.
So speak to that, because I once heard the great Bishop E. Dewey Smith, Pastor E. Dewey Smith, say, "Don't create or start a ministry unless you have a minister." How should people who don't have staff work towards staff?
I think you have to put you have to put the income and expenditures on the table. All right. And what I have found, they say whatever they want to say. we got the money to do whatever we want to do in many of our churches.
Mhm.
What it requires is this flexibility and this idea of stewardship. Now, again, some people cannot afford to do what others do, at max level.
Absolutely.
But you can do something.
You can do something.
You can do something. And I think there are many volunteers that would do it without really the expectation of this being my livelihood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think we gotta break that. We've gotta break the perception in our church budgets that we cannot do it. Because when I tabulate all that you're spending here, you technically could do it. But what you have to do before you even set a budget is set the priority.
Mm.
Because our budgets are reflections of priorities.
Yeah, man.
So when we prioritize staff, we'll find the money to do whatever. You found the money to do that food after service. You find the money, do. So
Yeah.
we find money for whatever.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that people, when you cast vision, people will give and make sure that there's provision for
Right.
what can legitimately happen.
Yeah.
I now speak to this though, because like I know, that there are two philosophies that are going on. You have what is normally with our culture, stipends and or salaries,
Right.
less
right,
volunteers.
right.
But in other cultures, there's more volunteers than there is staff.
And I think what we have to do in our church, where we mess up with volunteers, number one, there are not clear expectations.
Mhm.
There, you go to other cultures and,
Right division,
and other ministries, again, we expect volunteers to volunteer and do everything.
Mhm.
All right. So I have to have clear descriptions of what I'm asking you to volunteer, what I'm asking you to commit to, and be clear in that expectation.
Mhm.
What's the time commitment, things of that nature.
Right.
And then develop processes of how to do it. Are you training your volunteers?
Yeah.
Are you just throwing them out in deep water?
Which still
And
takes time.
It takes time. So I think, again, in the absence of staff, because everybody legitimately cannot do it.
Absolutely.
But what you can do is put support around your volunteers.
Mhm.
You can be clear in your expectations,
Yeah.
clear in your processes of what you're expecting from them, in your training of them,
Mhm.
and appreciate them. I want to tell you, the greatest lesson that I've learned since not being a senior pastor is how much we take for granted as senior pastors.
Absolutely.
We really do not account for the people that are there. They will do anything to make it happen for our visions, and they will come from their families.
Mhm.
They will dip into their pot. they will give over and above to make it happen. So I've got to be a good steward of the volunteers, and I've got to show meaningful appreciation.
Yeah.
So if you can't provide a salary or even a stipend, what can you do to provide support and appreciation for those that are volunteering versus it being a plantation?
Wow.
Because many of us many people, many in our church, many churches, they really got slave operation going on.
Man.
Well, maybe that's not acceptable. So, y'all forgive me. I ain't mean to say.
Well, this is straight church though, Tracy. So we understand.
But straight up,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
as people who have been systemically misused and abused,
Yeah.
we do the most misuse and abuse.
Yeah.
At what expense do you want me to build?
Mhm.
And again, you get to get it,
Yeah.
Mm.
but you don't want, so I think that we really have to assess the volunteer structure.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a slave or are you looking for a volunteer?
Yeah.
Because there's a clear difference.
Absolutely.
Man.
And you got to be clear. You definitely have to be clear.
Really.
Absolutely.
And
think it
that's to
matters.
safeguard the volunteer from burnout.
So give me this, because I know you're a thinker. If you could help some church right through here give them a few things, because most of the churches, especially post-pandemic, don't have the funds for staff,
Correct.
don't have the funds for stipends.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have the funds to have a luncheon and appreciate people.
Once a quarter.
Yes. So
You know,
okay.
Once
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
There are various teams that I oversee
Mhm.
at Grace, and I try to make sure that there are moments of intentional. Hey, fellas, let's do a get together.
Mhm.
Is the only time I'm calling you when I need something?
right. Right.
Are you? When's the last time you asked your people how are you doing?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man.
I've got people that serve on teams that are caretakers for parents,
Mhm.
or they're managing difficult workspaces. So making sure, I think the best thing that you can do is make sure that your expectations are clear and not fluid and broad.
Mhm.
Make sure they know what they're signing up for.
I like it.
Make sure that you are doing what you can to make clear that system, that process. So if a new volunteer is coming in, they won't get a tap on their finger for doing something wrong when you didn't even show them what to do that was right.
Mm.
So most times we as churches, we don't even know what we want. We just know we want.
Yeah, we want something.
We want something, but
We
I don't
want
know.
what we see.
So really investigate, what do you want?
Yeah, what we saw.
What are you expecting?
Yeah.
What is it going to take? And be a steward of the time of that person,
Absolutely.
because that's something that they can't get back. You can give me a stipend, but you can't give me my time back.
Absolutely.
So if you're saying I want you to volunteer for a service, the service is supposed to start at 10. Make sure it starts at 10. If it's supposed to end at 11:15, I understand spirit move, but you got to be clear, because I do have a life outside of this.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
being clear, and then finding those moments of fellowship,
Yeah.
and just showing that care, getting to know them. What are the special milestones of their life? What are the special moments in their life that you can celebrate? Even if I can't give you a consistent stipend, I can honor your birthday,
Mhm.
or I can set a all volunteer appreciation at the end of the year.
Mhm.
You take that excess and let's give gift cards.
Yeah.
Cards.
Mhm.
Something
Yeah.
to let people know that you care.
I love it. I think you helped somebody. I don't know how much time we got now.
We gotta get this legal ID in, then we can come right back.
More legal ideas.
Don't say it like that. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think you're helping somebody right now, because everyone, you got two parties in your church. You got people who want a stipend for everything, and you got people who will volunteer to do anything. And the reality is, there's nothing wrong with volunteers, because some people feel like money gonna change everything, and some black folk get lazier.
When you give them a stipend.
We're back.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
Yes. So,
Real quick.
go ahead.
I told you it's gonna be real quick.
Oh yeah, my fault. You brought me back. I ain't know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, our culture people get funds and they stop doing what they were doing before.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems in the church today. That as churches are progressing, they have a great desire to give people something for their time. But the worst thing you can do to a church who desires to do that is, as soon as they start trying to give you something, you slack off of everything.
Well, what happens is we give stipends without stipulations, and there's no description.
Mhm.
There's no accountability.
Majority of the time.
Majority of the time.
But you know what though? Now, and I take that, and that's real. There are some who give the stipulations, and just like our people, we want to see if you're going to enforce your stipulations, because we do make rules in church. But one of the biggest issues is nobody wants to enforce them. You're gonna make the pastor do it, or you're gonna make
you get, especially with board structures and things of that nature. They'll talk to you about it, but they don't want to talk. They don't want to talk to them. Don't nobody want to be the bad guy. Pastor got to be the bad guy
and the good guy,
and the good guy. So I think that there's got to be some accountability with grace, with mercy. But I mean, again, accountability and measurables.
Yeah.
Measurables. And I think that, again, in some cases, I give you, some church give you a stipend, and they think they paying all your bills. You're just giving me $100. I can't live off of that. So we boss up on people when we give them a stipend versus them being a volunteer. I've seen instances where that's taking place, and I've seen instances where people have gotten over on the church. But I think stipends must be attached with stipulations. What are those stipulations? What is that accountability? Enforceable accountability. Because ain't no sense in putting stipulation on paper and you ain't gonna enforce it in real life.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely.
You're so right about that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's important. Accountability is one of the highest forms of love. If you really love me, you got to hold me accountable.
It matters. And so tell me this as well. I think there are sometimes shifts out, but there are often shifts in. And you can shift inside of a thing.
You can.
And when you're shifting inside of a system, how do you properly shift while on the inside?
I think that let's talk about the system first. In many systems and relationships, we don't give people space to grow. Okay. In fact, every person that comes to your ministry, to your business, into your life, you ought to automatically build in space with the intention for them to grow. Because if anything is connected to you and not growing, then it must be dying. So we take people in with the expectation that I'm going to facilitate your growth. I'm going to pour into you to grow.
Absolutely.
That when you come to New Home, when you come to Restoration, I am expecting you to grow.
Absolutely.
And the teaching and the discipleship and the ministry opportunities are conducive for skill sets that can grow, not only for me to serve this house, but transferable for you to serve in life.
Absolutely.
In relationships, when I connect with, I don't connect. The version that Nisha is today is not the same that she was in 2015 when I met her. And I shouldn't hold her to that.
Exactly.
I shouldn't want her to be that.
Exactly.
So whether it's your spouse, whether it's your professional, across the board, I have to afford space for growth. And all too often in church, we don't give people space to grow. And neither are our cultures conducive for growth.
So let me ask you this. How do we foster an atmosphere where people can grow?
Number one, making available the teachings and giving the tools and opportunities for growth. So if all I'm doing is preaching, they're not going to grow holistically.
Okay.
So I have to expand the options. So we had partnerships with the Wellness Coalition for people to develop healthy living. You got to have partnerships with your banks or persons of financial background, teach them how to manage their finances. Your church got a building fund, you know what I'm saying, to pay off mortgage. Well, are your people in your church paying off theirs?
Because that makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
That makes a difference.
You want a healthy church with people functioning in ministry. They need to be healthy in real life. If your church is filled with dysfunctional families, you're going to be a dysfunctional church. So you've got to create opportunities for families to be strengthened, and that happens through, again, seminars, discipleship, fellowship, so that they can surround themselves with other successful people, successful families. They can be able to grow and glean from each other, and then having the hands-on opportunities to where they can serve and build those skill sets. Those hands-on experiences. If I back in the church, you had to be in the Easter play. Well, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Well, even if that child was
Recitation.
reading off of the paper,
Mhm.
you know, it's like a friend. Oh, well, that one child memorized their part, the other one was reading. One that memorized probably can't read as fluently. So for one, you were building fluency in
Right.
reading. The other, you were building memorization. But then, do they comprehend what they're a part of in these?
Which is the key.
Do they have confidence?
Yeah.
Their confidence is not just for the church; it's for the boardroom and for all of the other things. So the church, particularly within the Black church context, has been the training ground
Absolutely.
to give transferable skills
Mhm.
in other arenas.
Absolutely.
That's why people always stay connected. So we have to ask ourselves, not just of your church, but is your company
Mhm.
providing professional development? Is your nonprofit providing professional development? Even if they're a volunteer.
Yeah.
Sometimes the greatest thing you can give a volunteer is that though I can't give you a stipend, I'm giving you experience you can put on a resume.
Skill
Mhm.
set, man.
Skill set.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think those are some of the things that you get a chance to rethink, even now that I'm in a different seat.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do this before we get off, if you
Mhm.
don't mind, Pastor Trey.
All right.
You spoke to someone who's in the midst of transition earlier while we were off the air. I want you to talk to that person again. You were talking to that person who's dealing with this difficult or uncertain season of transition. Talk to them.
Well, first of all, you got to look at at yourself and understand, number one, your purpose,
Mhm.
and understand that there's intentionality where you are, and that you're probably dealing with some conflict externally or internally that's keeping you hungry for that continued pursuit. Number one, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Everyone will not understand the feelings that you are feeling. In fact, you probably don't even have an explanation for every feeling that you're feeling right now.
Mm.
So give yourself permission to feel those feelings and embrace each step in transition, even though you don't know entirely where you are going. Focus on who is for you in this transition. Even if it's one, you may have 10 chattering around you negatively. Lean into that one and pull from that positive energy. And I want you to challenge yourself, challenge your thinking. Think about what you have learned in your past. Think about what you're learning presently, and know that it is preparing you for where you're going. But it is okay to be in transition, and that's where you are. If they ask you how you doing, I'm in transition. Where are you in life? I'm in transition. Own that transition, and don't get so focused in where you're going that you miss what you are to learn in that transition. Embrace it.
Man, that's good. Well, you know, we didn't talk about our trending topics either.
What is that?
What's going on in society?
What you talking about?
So-
Kiki Palmer?
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts? Anybody care to dive
Be
in?
insecure.
Yeah, that's what it was. I really do believe that.
I mean, if I had Usher looking at my wife like that, I'd be feeling some type of way. There goes my baby. No, that's my baby. That ain't your baby.
Got me feeling some kind of way.
He looking at it. Now, you know, and again, my take on number one is not your wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of time we trying to have wife and husband demand on folk we ain't even willing to make that commitment to. She's still free game, bro. She is a mother, a mother of your child, but she ain't your wife. If it's that serious, put a ring on it.
But did you see what she said though? She was like, "Man, come on now.
Yeah,
We live together.
we live together.
So you think he didn't see me when I walked out the house? Because it wasn't what she had on. It was who was looking at what she had on.
And it's the insecure. A lot of what we inflict on others
Is
are our
insecure.
own personal
Absolutely.
insecurity, and everybody has that.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you got a fine spouse, you know, you're gonna be wondering who's. But be glad you got somebody like look at. But the deeper thing is what's going on with you, brother.
Internally.
Yeah. It didn't just start then.
It didn't just. That's something that's been dealing. You know, he's been dealing, and he has to sort through that.
Yeah.
And I think again, it is indicative. It is a reflection of social media culture. Some things don't belong in there. But we need to chop it up in private.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are mother. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the mother of my child. We probably
Yeah.
sit next to each other. Why you had to put it out there?
Yeah.
You know,
and we don't even have to go through who's the greater star or any of that. Even if they're on the same level playing, the approach was inadequate and inappropriate. It was terrible. Look, they talking about his money ain't right. We ain't going there. I don't care how much money he makes. Bruh, what you go to social media for?
Should have put it out there.
Let's go to biblical principles. If you got an art with them,
go to them.
Go to them. What you posting for?
Yeah.
Get this stuff on social media. And he went to Twitter, a place where nobody saw it.
Don't do that,
originally.
man. Don't do that, man, like that.
No, man, it has to be said because it was funny, but it was sad because his insecurity got him blasted.
And he about to lose out, you know. He about to lose out because I mean it didn't have to go there.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, if you don't deal with it, if you're not personally aware, and I think in all relationships, you got to keep that communication open.
Absolutely.
You know, and quit inviting people into that.
Absolutely.
Quit inviting people into that.
We're gonna let the case.
What else? You had something else?
We're gonna let the case. Well, you know, TD Jakes did the installation for Sarah and Torrey.
Yeah.
I think they're officially the assistant pastors.
Uh-huh.
So that speaks to the transition that you were talking about.
Everything he's been talking about, even to the extent of the pressures and the perception of other people.
Yep.
Because immediately people started saying, "Oh, well, we know who's gonna be the pastors next." If Joel don't get it together, right? They started talking about Tubman immediately.
Man, you know, so many of the battle with the leaders is that we listening to the chat of the people.
Absolutely, man, bro. I put a post. It was one of my first posts on Thread, and I said we have to today challenge ourselves to not read the comment section, bro.
And that's the problem.
Let the chatter be the chatter. Leave it alone. Because legitimately, I'm talking about pastors, preachers who are not even on a level of even having a real perspective or point of view. Our vantage point is nowhere close, you know, but we're already speaking on what shall become, and it creates more issues.
Man, but congrats to them, though.
Well, yeah, congrats. Absolutely.
Congrats to them.
I mean, I believe that whatever God is doing at the Potter's house, he's doing at the Potter's house. Ain't got nothing to do with my new home.
Worry about your house,
right? The new home, it ain't got, you know. And I mean, I heard Tola Morgan say this to somebody. If you got time enough to deal with the misery of other people, if you got time enough to have opinions about every little thing, you're not busy enough doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Can't be.
We got too much to be doing out here, and so what else is trending?
Those are the two dominant things.
Two dominant things.
Those are two dominant things.
Well, so, you know, I need some of y'all to get on Thread so I can get some more followers.
Crickets.
Oh yeah, well I already know Trey's finna get out that Trey.
Man, you don't know nothing. Just because you said that.
Trey in them books right now.
Exactly.
Trey don't be studying on social
Exactly.
media.
We in our master.
That's it, man.
Look, I'm let y'all hear that. Pray to God, pray to God.
Don't do that. don't do that.
Yeah, man. But once again, Pastor Millers, we definitely thank God for you stopping by today.
Finally came through.
Just being a blessing to
y'all
us.
Finally had his people to call us back.
No, you know.
I keep telling you, your sequence was a little out of order.
No.
I won't hold that against you. I love y'all.
No.
No. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
Okay.
And for this, we give God praise. But the reality is, we thank
You
God
made
for you stopping through. And once again, where are you tonight? Where are you tonight?
I am at Lake Elam
Mm-hmm.
Missionary Baptist Church, Millbrook, Alabama, 4060 Gober, Gober Road. I need y'all to join us 7:00 p.m.
How do you just remember addresses like that? Are you looking at it?
No.
Where did it come from?
I mean, if I can preach without notes, I gotta be able to remember where I'm preaching.
Well, Doc, I ain't gonna lie to you. I got a little special anointing when I get up there. I can remember a little bit more. You just talking about, I don't know where we at. Nah. So you're closing revival tonight. It's been interesting because you're talking about these different nuances. The first night you talked about come back from, what was it?
Come back for the family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Jesus working the miracle at the wedding in Cana of Galilee.
Exactly. John 2.
John 2.
Last night was John 4.
Yes, a comeback for the next generation.
For the children.
Man's son,
Yeah.
who is at the point of death. And Jesus works a miracle in the child. Now you're gonna have to come tonight.
They're going to come tonight. They can't get a sneak peek.
Getting it to you.
Well, we definitely thank God for you coming through. Pastor Trey, it's in your hands.
Yeah,
brother.
man, that's it. Appreciate you, bro. Listen, everybody, this is it for episode 27. Man, can you believe we're in season 2, episode
Season
27,
two,
man?
Episode 27.
God has been great.
God,
God
Yeah.
is great. God is good. We got some food.
let us thank him for these grits with sugar.
No, man, it's salt. But we're gonna let that go. Listen, we'll see you back here next Friday for another edition of Straight Church
No chaser.
with yours truly, Pastor Clarence E. Stewart III, also known as Trey, and Pastor
Lee Bizzle.
Lee.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Hard. Oh. Wow. I can't wait. Oh my God.
Well, listen, we thank God for you, and
My
of course,
time
you
is
know
coming.
Sunday is coming, and do I need to put you on mute?
No,
You want to put you on mute?
my time is coming. My time is coming. I promise you, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back
Listen,
when you least expect it.
Sunday is coming, and make sure you get up and go to church. Get up, go to church.
Go to
Get up,
somebody's church.
Go to church. Go to
Yeah.
church. We ain't talking about just virtually.
Yeah.
Get up.
And if you can't get up and go
Physically.
because you at work,
Yeah,
at least log in.
yeah, we'll accept that. But other than that, get up and go to church. All right, that's it. Y'all take it easy. Enjoy your weekend.
You didn't sing today.
We'll see you next week.
He didn't sing.
Well, he had already told you he wasn't gonna sing.
No, I told you.
Okay. But he want to jingle, but he ain't gonna sing.
Uh-oh.
Y'all better play Ignite Your Flame.
He a whole recording. He a whole recording artist.
He could have sung. But then he said he wanted people to come out tonight, so I believe he's gonna sing something real.
Yeah, he gonna sing tonight.
He's gonna sing tonight.
Him gonna sing tonight.
We're gonna see.
Yeah, he gonna sing.
Y'all keep it locked.
Yeah. Family, love y'all. Thank you all for being a part of this session, episode 27. It's been a joy. We pray you got something. We pray you received it. We pray that you'll apply it. I believe this is a wrap. Trey, what is it, man?
Yo, family, we love y'all. We'll see you next week. This is it for Straight Church.
No chaser.
With yours truly, Pastor Trey.
And Pastor Lee Bizzle. And
The Flame Igniter. Oh, I'm talking on this mic. The Flame Igniter.
all right, fam. Peace out.